Are you going to do the intro though? Or am I
No,
doing the intro?
we're going to keep this intro though.
This is the intro. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Welcome back to episode potentially 26 of the Resilient Events podcast. I'm Haircut John, and this is Marissa Kelly, my beautiful co-host. Today we're interviewing a special guest, Yinka Freeman. Tell me about Yinka.
Yinka and I met through the event space, and she's a powerful voice. She's active in the San Diego community. I've worked with her on a virtual project. Never actually met her, even though we lived in the same area for quite some time. So that's kind of interesting. It happens all the time. I wanted to bring her on because she's a voice in the event space, but also talking about innovation and AI. And I know she has some news to drop that she'll share with us. And I think it's good to showcase people in the event space, but also women who are innovating in that space. So that's why I'm glad she's here. We will bring her on right now.
Hi.
This is, behind the scenes. This will probably cut out. But anyways, I'm happy to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Yeah. As I mentioned, you actually came to mind when I reached out to someone about the PlexiCams, because their episodes were a little bit more geared toward, or there was not women speakers on their show at the time. And he asked me, can you help me get some women in, familiar with PlexiCam, but also, who do you suggest? And your name came to mind right away. So I'm glad to have you on our show.
Thank you. And I have it all set up. It's really cool, actually. So,
yes. Yeah. Yes. We also have Katie behind the scenes. She said, I think I need to get one of those. I'm like, yeah, look at us influencing people to get PlexiCam. I know Dan will love that. So yeah, let's get right into it. We are talking about event tech and AI. I want to touch on one of the things that a lot of people talk about and how to improve in events. And we talked about it in episode 8, which is networking tips from a former wallflower, who is John. Can you share a specific example from last year that significantly improved networking opportunities at an event?
Thank you for the introduction, Marissa. And yes, I am all about innovation when it comes to events, technology when it comes to events, virtual events when it comes to events, in-person events when it comes to
events.
All of it, all the things. So for me, so the example that I want to give is a virtual event that I had last year. It was a 3-day conference, which is in the virtual space can be a lot. But what we did was incorporated virtual networking lounges, and the platform that we use had an AI algorithm attached to it that would match all the attendees' preferences, their interests, their hobbies, things like that. And it did it as a virtual matchmaking tool, and it connected all these different attendees based on their profiles. The one thing that I would say helped is we sent out a lot of messaging around filling out your profiles, making sure it's detailed, not just, hi, my name is Yinka and I love dogs, and that's it. We really put out messaging like, no, you like dogs, you like brown dogs, you like cats, and whatever it is, please make sure it's detailed so that you give the algorithm some really interesting preferences or interests to be able to connect. And that really facilitated a lot of really meaningful connections. I found that out because people were late to sessions, which was a learning tool, and the networking lounges make sure they end, because people might have some really good connections or some really good conversations, and they might want to keep talking, but that really, really helped. And what I found out later was, once we sent out the surveys, that personalized experience was one of the most voted aspect of that virtual conference.
Interesting. Wow. I'm interested to hear like what the participation rate was from the people in terms of actually filling out the answers to those questions and responding? That's usually the hard part.
It was pretty good. I would say it was probably about 75%. But we sent out emails. We made some of the emails really fun or funny. And then during the actual event, we had announcements that would go out, just reminding people, hey, if you haven't filled it out 100%, please, this is your chance. Go ahead and fill it out. So we were very intentional with making sure that people were filling it out.
Yeah, yes. That's awesome. That's a really good response rate for that.
Yeah, it is, right? I was surprised too.
And this is all done after they've already registered. Like they've already said, hey, I'm going. You're facilitating this engagement and networking eventually down the line after they've already registered. I think we talk about this all the time. People try to put that in the first registration form. And it makes people leave the registration form because they're like, this is too much. I don't have time. Like,
yeah. But once you're already committed to going, or once you're already in it, you're an attendee, it kind of gives you a little bit more of a purpose to why to do it.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm wondering how much time too, like how long between registration was there and the event actually taking place? Like what much of a time window was there to get people to do that?
So between registration and the actual live event, we started pushing it out about 2 weeks before we actually went live.
Okay. Nice. And like one message every few days, something like that?
Yeah, it was kind of one message every few days. And we created, like I said, we try to make it just engaging and kind of funny. So we created just kind of branded messaging. I think one of them actually did have like a dog or something in it that was like, you should get to know me, like things like that. But we really just try to be playful with it, because I think like Marissa said, when you put it all in a registration form, it can really look daunting to an attendee. It's like, oh, why do you want to know like where I am or what my hobby is or what my professional goal is? But you can ask questions in a certain way that you can still get that answer without it being so mundane sounding.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome. Marissa, sorry, I went way too deep. I know you have way more questions lined up.
No, that's okay. And actually, I'm okay. Like the questions are for prompting. It's not necessarily I need to get to all of them. So we might have to do a second episode if, that's good. So it sounds like you talked about, having branded messages. Did you have any pushback or fear of the unknown with the people that you were working on this particular strategy with? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. I feel like whenever it comes to event technology, there's always some sort of pushback with my clients, but it's really the fear of the unknown, right? Like a lot of my clients are not in the event tech space. They're not in the virtual space. They don't know what is out there. And so for me, because I know that, I really try to stress communication and education. If I don't know 90% of the platform, that's a problem. And I'm not going to bring that to my client. So I make sure I understand the platform fully. And then I take that knowledge and I repurpose it. And I then educate my client in the most simple way I can. Right. Like, do not use big words. Just, keep it simple. But I meet with them. We get on the platform. I'll create a test event so we as a team can hop on there and test all of the different features so that they really get to see it. But then what gives me the time to explain why that's important. Why is that matchmaking tool important? Okay, well, let's get in there and let's try it and let's see why it's important. So that's really how I approach that, because to your point, it is fear of the unknown. They just don't know what they don't know. And so it's my job to give them the confidence that they now know, they now understand, and they now see how that fits into the entire event.
For sure.
Awesome. She's converting dinosaurs. It's awesome.
Yes. Yes. We have a slogan, do not be a dinosaur. Make sure you're doing the things that we tell you to do.
I hope I don't lose clients out of because of this, but most of my clients are dinosaurs.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. We need dinosaurs because then we wouldn't be doing what we do.
That is
exactly.
true.
That's right.
We convert dinosaurs. Yeah, I had someone today talking about, that people are still afraid of AI. They see it everywhere. And, they're not even going to embrace it or they're not wanting to learn at all, even just at the beginning basics, setting up an account in the most basic way. And then in a year and 2 years, they're going to be way behind everyone. Like you can still be at the forefront if you start looking at all this stuff now.
Yeah.
So, cool. So, John, do you want to ask the next one or?
I suppose I could do that. Yeah.
Or if you have something else you want to talk about.
It's just already kicked so many ideas in my brain. It's hard to begin. I'm thinking dinosaurs and Yosemite and stuff like that.
The little dinosaur. We need a dinosaur like pumping.
Let's see. Like from what you've seen so far, besides matchmaking, what do you see as like the next kind of big thing for AI in event tech? What do you think's next?
So as an event producer, I use AI all the time, and I find a lot of event producers are very, very scared of AI. I've had somebody come up to me and say, "Don't you think it's going to like replace your job?" I'm like, no, it's not going to replace my job. If anything, it's making me like so much better at my job. And so as a producer, I really believe that AI is just going to help us create just so much more immersive experiences, so much more intentional experiences. And it's going to help half of the tasks that we are just like, just get so much better. I think about having to do agenda planning sometimes for my clients. Now I'll throw things into ChatGPT and be like, all right, just give me some ideas. Let me rest my brain for just a second. You think for me, and then I'll think again for myself. And that's really how I use AI. It's an assistant. It assists me throughout the day. It helps me understand some logistical processes a lot better. I'll use it to help me put together an event flow for a client. And it'll help me just think of things that I didn't even think about. And so I think that's where it's going, especially within the event production world. It's just going to be this amazing tool to assist you with all of the tasks that you typically do. And it also automate a lot of the tasks, right? Like you have chatbots, for instance, that can send out messaging to all of your attendees, that can help you craft messaging to all of your attendees. And you don't have to sit there and Google what word you need to use to say this thing. It does it for you. You can then take that, edit it to sound more like your voice or the client's voice. And so I'm all about it. There's no going back there. And I really feel like everyone else needs to get on this train because it's just going to revolutionize the way we produce events moving forward.
Interesting. So not going to make you obsolete. Maybe it'll make interns obsolete.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, like, what do you think? Like, how much time could it cut down from you per event? Do you think, if you'd like to percentage?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to say, oh my gosh. Like if I were to use just me, I would say probably cuts down like at least 30% of my time.
Yeah. Wow.
At least. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking when you were asking that question, because I'm with you in terms of like being very intentional and like having immersive experiences. And when you're stuck in those mundane, like repetitive tasks that you do for every event that need to be done because they make an event, all the little details, but you cannot innovate. You cannot find something that's different about your event that will make people come back if you're figuring out how to, have volunteer, schedule volunteers, right?
Mhm.
When that to me is something that's not changing. Like you still need X amount of volunteers and X amount of staff. That doesn't change, but you still have to do it in your project plan and present it. But you minimize those things, and I don't think it would take away interns because people still need to learn,
Yeah.
right? Like there's still going to be someone that doesn't know as much as you, but it will allow you to teach them.
Yeah.
Fair. Question
better.
I have for both of you: if you're each going to save 30% of your time, what are you going to do with that extra 30%? Is that you're going to be like
Sleep.
at the gym more?
Literally was going to say the same thing. Literally, like,
more
I'm going to
events,
sleep.
more sales. What are we doing?
No,
Gym.
we're sleeping.
Gym.
We're
Sleep.
going on vacation.
Yeah. I think, this is not an interview for me, but you and I are similar in that sense that like we want that AI to come into events or our tools so that we can be more intentional with our time with everyone. The events can be better, it can be more creative. You're almost reducing the digital overwhelm with a tool.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for me, it really allows me to be a lot more creative because I think we all have skills as event producers, right? We can't be good at every single thing. And for me, one skill that I often say, there's so many other people out there that are way better at me, is that creative. It's the coming up with a theme. It's, that takes me a lot of time.
Right.
But now I find myself just thinking of a theme and like I'll throw it into ChatGPT and they'll start spitting things back out at me, and it gets my brain then thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. The sky is blue and the water is blue and I could have a blue theme, and and then me as a human being, I start then piecing all of it together. But I would probably spend 2 days trying to come up with a theme about the sky being blue. And can you imagine 2 days to like 30 minutes?
Yeah. And then write your event description, all blue themed, and all the registration emails blue themed.
I think that's a solid quote for the episode, though. It's going to allow you to have the time to be more creative, right?
Yeah.
Which is like what you like about events and what the value is.
Yes.
Right.
It's cool.
Yeah. Now I want to go play in ChatGPT. So, we talked a little bit about the matchmaking AI tool and the future of AI and how that affects your, creativity. How do you envision the next less than a year, 6 months of the future of AI with event tech? And do you think that we're at a stage where it's done in terms of like all the event tech is out there and we're ready to use it?
I don't even think we've scratched the surface of event technology. It feels like every day there is something new that comes out within event technology, but I think we are really just at the beginning. I think we're going to really see some crazy things. I think there's going to come out with some crazy things. There are some, I don't think they're crazy, but a lot of people might think they're crazy things right now. Like, I can't remember the name of the platform right off the top of my head, but the one that like analyzes attendees' facial features while they're in a session and can tell you if they are happy, if they are sad, if they're interested, if they're listening, all of that. Can you imagine that at like a conference? That kind of data is amazing. So I think AI is really going to focus on attendee data analytics. I think that's where it's going for the event industry, because that's going to allow us to have, typically pre-COVID in the 2020s, our data analytics were what attendees filled out, right? Like it's check a survey,
if they filled it out,
whatever it is, right? And half of them don't fill it out and just leave. But if you can have attendees in a room and you have a camera, that's there, that's not in their face, but it's in the room, just scanning them, and you're getting that real-time data. I feel like at some point you're going to have a speaker that it's in front of the room doing a presentation. There's going to be me in the background somewhere, and like watching people and just right there being like, you need to go faster, say something funny, blah, 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 you know, engage, you know, something like that. And you can tell how old I am because I'm going like this too. But you know, like that real time, like you can then deliver content in real time. Like, okay, AI is telling me all the attendees need to have a quick little break. Okay, we put something on the LED screen of puppies running around or something.
Right.
So that's I think where the focus of AI in the event production world is really going to lean, and that's going to blow up a lot.
Yeah. I'm trying to imagine being an attendee, and like if you can trick the system to be like, you know, or do you feel like my body temperature rising and I don't like what that person is saying? You know, so many different data points. I mean, like people like might be scared of that because that's like too much intrusion, but I feel like
really big sunglasses.
A ski mask to a conference.
You wear like one of those things you wear at the dentist, you know, do not scan my body. But yeah, I think, you know, it's kind of like we have to embrace it and just not saying like give up and just let it happen, but more so how can we use it to our advantage?
I think
for everything.
I think if more people like us, like event producers, are involved in that process and are loud and vocal about it, it's really going to help, right? Because right now it's like the Wild West. It's like when COVID hit and virtual events were a thing, and there was like a billion gazillion platforms that came out, right? Us as producers had to be like, no, that sucks, don't use that one, or no, that's not going to do what you're wanting out of your event, right? And we all educated ourselves, and we shared the knowledge, and we had all the spreadsheets of all the different platforms and what they did. I feel like we're going to need to do that as well. I'm not techie. I'm not a developer. I don't know how to do all of that, but I can be vocal about whatever platform or whatever AI tool you're presenting to me. With the example that I gave of the platform that scans, one of the questions I asked, because they said, you know, it can tell you if you're male or female. I work in the queer space. I do a lot of queer live and virtual events. And so I asked, well, what if they're trans? What about that? What if they identify as being non-binary? What about that? And I remember the salesperson was just like looking at me. But I'm like, that's important, right? Like in my space, that is important. And so I want to know. And they actually followed up in an email saying that that was something that they are starting to kind of figure out how to approach that. And I think he said, as of right now, it says other, but they're really trying to figure out how to go about doing that. But if I had not said anything to him, that could end up being a huge issue later on.
Right. Yeah. Being at the forefront of those conversations. So we know that we dropped a little hint before about your special stuff, but this will air after, so you can talk about it now. Tell us what's new for you, and you have the floor. Go ahead.
So what's new for me? So I've always been a third-party producer. I've never done my own events. I love doing other people's. I love helping them. But in 2024, the universe put a festival in my lap. And so I now own a festival. It's called Some of Us. It is a wellness festival that is focused on queer and trans and female identifying bodies. It takes place in September. It happens in the Yosemite area. It's a 4-day camping festival, lots of workshops during the day. We party at night, we wake up again and we do some workshops. So it's really about healing yourself on the inside, but also having fun and being with community and having great parties, having great food, being in nature. One of the most absolute favorite events that we have at the festival is the Trans Body Celebration Swim. And so we have this huge pool, we have DJs, and we just allow our trans brothers and sisters to be their most natural self. The reason we do that is because one of the things that trans people say is the first thing that they do after they get either they get top surgery is they go to the beach, they go to the water, because it allows them to be their most authentic selves for the very first time. A little emotional, actually. And so that's just really important to be able to celebrate that in a space that's safe. And we create a beach, a water source for them, and we just have a party and celebrate them.
Yeah. That's awesome. Sounds very immersive and intentional, which is what you stand for.
Will you use technology at your nature focused event?
Yeah.
Yes. So for me with that, it's all about creative immersive experience. Like if you're listening out there, there is an organization called the LGBTQ Virtual Museum. And it's all virtual. They do it with like the Oculus sometimes and things like that. I would love something like that to be in some of us, to have this immersive virtual space. I really want a lot of the installations to have an immersive virtual aspect to that too.
Cool. Yeah, that's good.
Blend of what's the event date? And
it is September 19th to the 22nd.
Got it. Is it warm in Yosemite at that time?
It is. It's usually very pleasant during the day, and then it does drop at night to like 50s, 40s at night.
Which is like 12 for you, I think.
I don't
John, in Celsius.
Oh, sorry.
He's like, I don't know.
I forgot you were Canadian.
Yeah, it's 60. Hold on. It's 17 right now. So
I know that 32 is freezing, right? And 70 is something like room temperature. So somewhere in the middle. Got it.
Yes. Cool. Well, Yinka, we loved having you. We are looking forward to seeing more about your Some of Us event, and obviously working together.
Links to that at rizpod.live.
Yes. Oh, you dropped our call to action, rizpod.live. Yes. Yeah, we'll get the links in there. And hopefully we'll be able to join you at that event in some way. But yeah, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing what events and AI and all the things bring us in 2024.
Yeah. Thanks, Yinka. It was really fun. Until next time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.